Good afternoon, everyone, and I'm back, Rona Puntawe, your host. This week, I'm going to focus on the change maker's way. Now, when I started this series of talks, I was doing it on a daily basis, and I basically focused on the change maker's way, and then somehow that evolved to flourish and flow. Now, this time round, I want to revisit the change maker's way that originally inspired me to talk about stuff on a daily basis. And I would like to share over the next few days or few weeks the 10 principles of the change maker's way. Now, I've almost given up on this. I was meant to launch a program, um, but somehow things got in the way, life got in the way. But I haven't forgotten this, mainly because I felt when I stumbled, I don't know if stumble is the right word, or came across the 10 principle, it was really a download from the universe. I don't know what better way to explain it. It wasn't something that I thought about excruciatingly or I fabricated or it came up on my own. It was something that was given to me from somewhere. So I felt like it's my obligation or it's my duty to actually share it out there in the world. And the first principle of the change maker's way is the principle of movement. And what it says is that today I move myself and others one step closer to a brighter future. Come to think of it, over the last few months, many of us have been stuck or felt stuck. And the opposite of that is movement or flow. And when we say movement, I don't just mean physically, I also mean emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. We've been stuck physically because of lockdowns. We've been stuck emotionally from fear. We've been stuck mentally from the uncertainty, not knowing what's going to happen next. And it's hard to make decisions when we're stuck that way. And some of us have probably been stuck spiritually, finding ourselves in what you call the dark nights of the soul, where there seems to be no end in sight, and it really challenges our faith in something that is kind, in something that really looks over us and takes care of us. So this principle is really important. And I'm not here to preach how you have more movement in life. All I know is, as I said, I'm channeling this message and it's worth thinking about to keep moving. And for me, probably the easiest of the dimensions of movement is to just move physically. I can't state this enough. When you are just in one place, right, it's easy to just feel contracted and our universe seems to just get smaller and smaller. And I feel that too. However, we need to keep moving our body. It starts from us. Move ourselves. So what moves you physically? Whether it's music you love, whether it's a game, physical game that you love, whether it's dancing or a sport, something you can do within the house and within the confines of your spaces, right? Some of us are luckier than others. Like here in Australia, we can go out and about in the outdoors, and I've seen some of my friends in the US do that as well. But for a lot of us in some other countries, most of the time we're just confined in closed spaces within the house. But I watched this Netflix documentary, which I highly recommend, called Move. And one of the dancers, I think Akran, that's his name, when he was a kid, he only had this 1 square meter of space in the kitchen where he danced and danced and danced. And that's where he started and eventually became a world-class, world-renowned dancer. There's no excuse for us not to move physically. And why is that important? It's also related to our mental well-being, emotional well-being. So I'll move on to the next type of movement, which is emotional movement. It's got to do with emotional flexibility. I learned this from Nia and from the founder who I'm taking lessons, my brown belt lessons from, Debbie Rosas. She said she taught us about emotional flexibility. Try this exercise 60 seconds. Feel the anger, feel the sadness, feel the fear. Just give yourself 60 seconds and then move on. Move on to the next emotion. Whether it's happiness, go in there. Whether it's grief, go in there. Allow yourself 60 seconds and move on to the next. That's emotional flexibility. Keep going, keep exercising, keep moving, not just physically, but emotionally. And nobody teaches us that. The other one is mental flexibility. And I've mentioned about this in bits and pieces in all my talks. But I can have, and probably have a whole 5-day workshop just on mental flexibility, and it's got to do with our attention. And in fact, one of the principles of the Changemaker's Way just focuses on that. But let this be the foundation, and this is just an introduction that we can be mentally flexible by shifting our attention, by owning our attention, by managing our attention. And I call it attention intelligence. We can train ourselves to be mentally flexible, because otherwise we're going to get stuck, we're going to get indecisive, and we feel hopeless, and we feel like we don't have a choice in our lives. That's the symptom of being stuck mentally, when we feel like we don't have a choice. There are situations, of course, where our choices are extremely, extremely limited. And of course, I don't know what to say to that. I mean, we all have different contexts and circumstances. But for many of us, we have more choice in life than we think. And the last part of movement is spiritual. To me, this is about being able to move forward, being able to move others from spirit. And again, this is a topic that I myself grapple with. It's not an easy one to talk about because it's got something to do more with faith. And it's a very personal and intimate topic to talk about. I've had a lot of doubt. I've had a lot of what you call dark nights of the soul. But I constantly seek guidance, and I constantly find ways to get in touch with something that is beyond me as a human being. And I still believe there is something omnipotent out there that connects all of us. So I know this is quite philosophical, but as I said, I feel it's my duty or obligation, whatever you call it, what's the word, to share this as this was given to me and I'm channeling the message. Maybe only 1-2 people will hear it. I don't know, but I feel like at least I'm sharing it out there. And if you find value in this Changemaker's Way, please spread the word, share it. It's not mine, it's everybody's. Again, principle of movement. Today, I move myself and others one step closer to a brighter future. If you feel stuck, just keep moving, one baby step at a time. And remember, there are at least 4 different dimensions of movement. Moving physically, moving emotionally, having emotional flexibility, moving mentally, having that mental flexibility to own our attention and shift our attention and not simply get sucked in and distracted by others, and having spiritual movement towards something greater, and it's got to do with faith, towards something better. So I know this sounds a bit serious, this sounds a bit huge and big, and there's a lot of layers there, there's a lot to dissect in there, but just remember, if anything keep moving. Don't stay too long in a negative emotion. You can shift. Don't stay too long in a negative mindset. You can shift. And don't get too stuck physically staying in front of oops, free sessions on Nia. I don't do that anymore, and maybe I'll get back to it, who knows? Because now we've got this second wave of COVID hitting the shores of Europe and also US. I don't know if you call that second wave in the US. They never really got through the first wave, if you ask me. But anyway, lots of things happening in the world right now, so don't get stopped. Keep moving. Anyway, positive juju to all of you, positive energy. When you move